experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. Some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted. They failed both the test of our national values and the test of humanity. Informed consent means your doctor tells you the risk of the treatment you are about to undergo. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment. And that was wrong. The United States of America offers a sincere apology to those of our citizens who were subjected to these experiments, to their families, and to their communities.
Why do you think they really want to roll 5G networks out?
Now, just like cell phones work, just like cell phone technology works, similar to it, they're able to dial in, to tune into the brain and central nervous system of the victim using nanotechnology that they placed in the victim's body through food, water, causing him to ingest it.
We are all now guinea pigs for electromagnetic radiation.
Is, breaking pre-sale records. What does that mean for the industry?
It's so exciting how all of this innovation is happening here in the United States, and what the app companies that are all here in San Francisco, how they actually are changing our lives, and the things that they're going to be able to do and bring us in this next generation of 5G networks is really incredible.
We started to get familiar with the dangers of wireless radiation when I started taking French lessons at Mitchell Park Library. On the second floor where I took my lessons, there are 7 wireless routers on the ceiling and many people using wireless laptops. It was there that I felt like a volcano was erupting in my heart.
Corporations and government are now developing and perfecting a global smart grid in which each of us will be monitored, and each of our slightest actions will be recorded and transmitted by billions of digital devices placed all around us in our homes and our communities.
Y'all hear that ringing? That comes from the wire.
Did you just hear that high-pitched noise?
That comes from
That's
the
the
wire.
noise.
Republican caucus at the Georgia State Capitol, and the purpose was to discuss a potential plot by Barack Obama in conjunction with the UN to herd everyone into the cities and mind control them, put them in hobbit homes, a bunch of crazy things. It involved
Creating a UN communist dictatorship.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
obviously.
inevitably, yeah.
I mean, why?
911, what's the patient emergency?
This is the phone call Matthew Lander's family tried to prevent.
I have a woman that's unconscious. She's on the front porch. I don't know if something been to her.
The woman on the floor is Matthew's mother, Kimberly. She's not breathing because her son just attacked her.
What happened to her to make her fall unconscious?
I don't know. I was sleeping. I woke up and her son was trying to attack me with a knife.
And so, we hear about, the Manchurian Candidate, this idea that the CIA was actually doing these mind control experiments to create assassins or to create people that they could otherwise control. Is there truth in that, or is that kind of maybe an isolated incident? Like, what is the truth in a statement like that?
Matthew used a machete against his mother's boyfriend, whose voice you hear, then tried to take his own life.
I need you to get right next to her and tell me if she's breathing.
I don't think she is.
Kimberly Lander would later die. Her boyfriend sustained minor injuries, and Matthew was arrested and charged with his mother's murder. Only a few hours before it all happened, Matthew was released from a 13-day stay here at McLaren Hospital in Port Huron after hospital staff decided he was safe to be discharged.
He said he had 3 people fighting for control of his mind.
And when I say fact, I mean clearly documented in great detail. That going back to the Second World War, these people were operational and used in a whole variety of different types of missions. What it really is the Manchurian Candidate is an artificially created multiple personality, where you, through a variety of techniques, create a new identity inside, and then there's some sort of code word, and the identity can be called out, given the mission assignment.
How much kind of
that rides an emotional roller coaster every time she talks about her youngest son. When he was on MacDill Air Force Base, an honor roll student and Navy Cadet Corps petty officer, Christopher Rodriguez had planned to become a Navy SEAL. Everything changed after he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia at 14.
My son has been in confinement for, I could say, the past 3 years.
At 22, Rodriguez was arrested and eventually sentenced to 10 years in prison for robbery and assault with a deadly weapon. He is among the reported 356,000 mentally ill prisoners incarcerated in the United States.
Now, first question, do these new false memories in mice, in essence, take the place of true memories, or do you keep all your memories and just absorb new fake ones as well?
That's a really good point, because there's so much research on what is memory and what is selective memory. Sometimes we remember issues that happened to us years ago when we were maybe 5 or 6 years old, but can't remember what happened to us last week or last year.
And the regular person has amnesia for the mission. And so the idea, as far as I can figure out, is if the person's captured and interrogated, they're more resistant to interrogation because the out front person doesn't have any knowledge of the mission.
Right.
And these are described in documents going back to a book published in the 40s, up to the early 70s, a newspaper article, and in the declassified CIA documents. They describe real-life stimulation experiments.
We know that leaders of the various wireless companies met with the Trump administration earlier this year. What can the government do to compel the shift to 5G?
These new networks are more about antennas that are the size of a shoebox or a pizza box, as opposed to a 200-foot tower. So we need new rules for these new networks. We're going to have to put 300,000 new sites up over the next few years. That's twice as many as we've done in the entire industry existing.
So what does the U.S. have to do to be more competitive?
We need to change our infrastructure rules so that we can roll these sites out faster at more affordable cost. And we need more spectrum. We're always going to need more new spectrum as America's dying to have more and more mobile devices. We're going to need more spectrum.
For instance, here are the new mental institutions. Except, U.S. prisons lack the intensive treatment that psychiatric hospitals offer to patients. Furthermore, mentally ill inmates have the right to refuse medication for their illness.
He is not being treated. He's not being rehabilitated.
Over the past 7.5 years, Penna says her son has been shuffled between 4 Florida prisons, including Dade Correctional Institution, where mentally ill inmates have allegedly been tortured or driven to suicide.
It was smelling really bad.
Not just mental illness, it's an agenda operation on the public.
So our memory has different capacities for long-term memory, short-term memory, and working memory. Manipulating memory has a history going back to brainwashing, hypnosis, suggestion, and mind reading is another aspect of it, which we've looked at for years with individuals who claim to be psychic, able to read your mind. But the influencers can be coercive and sometimes not. So these hackers are wearing a white hat or a black hat, usually.
Now, do you see this technology ever being utilized on humans?
Definitely. I think that
all those frequencies with traffic will cause some major catastrophes to public health and privacy. This smart grid program has taken the obsessive-compulsive approach. It is like they're saying, if a little humidity is good, then it would be even better if everyone were underwater. Saturating the biological environment with electromagnetic radiation is murder, mass murder. Every institution has an infinite appetite for information about you. If government and corporations knew everything about every cell in your body every minute of the day, they would still want higher resolution data.
When it comes to 5G, are any of the service providers ahead of one another? I mean, I know they're all trying to mark their territory, but is anyone, farther ahead than the rest?
This is a global race to 5G. We won the race in 4G, and that's why all the innovation happens here in the United States. We've got 30 trials here in the United States, but China's got 100 trials going on this year. Japan and Korea are really racing to get it done for their Olympic commitments.
Getting out of the city will be a priority soon. Will no longer be an option. It's just the truth. And that's all it is to it.
And the stream of energy interfaces with the nanotechnology from the body of the victim. It's trauma-based mind control. It's trauma, severe trauma and pain.